Welcome to the 27th episode of Teachers Glasses Presents Bollywood TALKies with Outlook. I'm your host, Mitrajit Bhattacharya, and tonight my guest is a theatre and movie actor, photographer, and a voiceover artist. Give him a lead role or a 10-minute appearance in a movie, he will make sure to walk away with all the attention. Dr. Asthana, Virus, or Khurana, each character he has played on screen will live with us forever. Boman Irani, welcome to Teachers Glasses Presents Bollywood TALKies with Outlook.
Thank you, Mitrajit. So good to be here. Thank you so much.
What is keeping you so busy these days?
The thing is that I, strangely, when the lockdown happened, I just thought that what am I going to do now I thought a month or 21 days that it started off with, and 2 months, 3 months, and then we knew that it's going to be much longer. So I decided to keep myself busy. I decided to fill up my diary with all kinds of work. We shot a hell of a lot of ad films in the house. I started my screenwriting classes. I was attending workshops on photography. Every evening I would do one little talk show with someone. Maybe it's maybe a corporate or a school or a college or an institution or just a sanstha, or just to cheer people up in the evening. But my day has been extremely busy, and it's tiring, and that's wonderful to find the time to be tiring. I think it's good to get tired. Every morning, Mitrajit, I conduct a class for probably more than 2 hours every day. We are now into our 190th class during the lockdown. 190. That's a lot of online sessions.
This is your screenwriting class, right?
That's right. It's called Spiral Bound, and it started with 4 students. 4 got another, and I said, just keep it a nice, tight little thing. Now we have almost 2 WhatsApp groups full of people. Luckily, for the last 15 days, there's been less attendance because people are getting back to work, which is a good thing. When I say luck, happily the attendance is less because people are getting back to work. But during the lockdown, when people were sitting indoors, I think it came out real handy that people had so much to do during the day. Then they had a little bit of, I hate to use the word homework, but a lot of homework they used to do, presented the next day, and it was amazing. It just actually saved me during the lockdown.
Not many people know, but this famous actor with a booming voice was a dyslexic child suffering from ADHD and a lisp, almost embarrassed to speak in public. How did you turn it around as a child?
I think as a child, I just had a great support system at home. My mother, strangely, when I used to sing, I never used to stammer for some reason. So my mother encouraged me to sing. She sent me to a music teacher. She also sent me to a speech therapist. Alu Hirjibeden. I remember the name as a kid. And my music teacher was Mrs. Hetty Fernandez. And I used to go to their homes, and they used to treat me like a son. And they helped me not only overcome my fear of speaking, my speech defect, but also Hetty Fernandez helped me with my music. And it gave me so much confidence. But that, I'd say, I didn't have much to do with it. It was to do with my mother, who decided she could have ignored it. Okay, he'll get over it. He has a lisp. Lots of people have lisps. I had a squeaky voice, and I used to be very nervous to speak. So to open my mouth was a big deal. It was a big deal. And then I think the music helped me, and the speech therapy helped me.
How was it in school?
Well, for starters, it wasn't good. I just hated the idea of sitting in class and not speaking. And my grades weren't great. I don't like to encourage kids to tell them if your grades aren't great, don't worry about it. No, your grades may not be great in all the subjects. Some subjects, they will be pretty good. But certain subjects, mine were down in maths and science. They are horrible. Even today, my maths is just completely all over the place. My understanding of numbers. If you ask me to take down your phone number, it will take you at least 10 minutes to tell me, and I'll type it in wrong. It's a thing. It's that side of my brain just doesn't work very well. So I used to be very quiet in class till about the 5th standard, when I started getting a little more confident. When I started going on stage, Then I said, okay, this is fun. And I got more and more confident. Then I got overcompensated by being an extremely naughty kid.
You are the unofficial brand ambassador of the Late Bloomers Club, making a screen debut in your 40s. But you have
Right,
been a huge fan of cinema since childhood, encouraged by your mother to
right,
go and see movies at theaters. What were
right.
you absorbing by watching so many movies, and some of them not once but multiple times?
When I'd sometimes go for a movie because they couldn't leave me at home. I had no father.
Right.
And my mother had to take me for certain movies. And then I would ask questions about those movies. When they were not children's movies. When I say they were adult, I mean, it didn't mean that they were
Right.
A-rated in that sense.
Yeah.
But adult topics, epics, even Hitchcock films, which were universally stamped. I would ask very, very important questions.
Okay.
And my mother understood that I have a great, deep love and understanding for the narrative. And there would be times when some mom's friends would come along and say, hey, how's this movie? So my mom would say, great, we saw it the other day. And I would jump in and tell the rest of the story as a little kid. And my mother would be extremely impressed that I could tell a story from as a little child. And this happened and that happened. And then finally, and then, I said, so she sensed that I had an education in cinema. She sensed that because there was a great learning from good stories, because good stories always have a moral. Good stories always, there's a lot of history to learn from good stories. There's a lot of, if there's an epic or there is something about World War II, there's so much to learn, even from about people, about great people, about biopics. So while she encouraged me to read, she encouraged me to see movies every day. Go watch it, no problem. You finished the homework? Yeah, go watch a movie. And luckily we had a movie theater across the house, right across the home. Like I'm literally talking from my gate. The cinema was 25 meters away. And I would just go and that would be my hangout. That would be my adda actually. So it was like finding cinema paradiso for myself. And it would be a great hangout. And my mother was, we used to sit and discuss movies till late at night. I mean, literally today, if I have a great memory for movies, it's thanks to her telling me about the movies that she saw as a kid. So when they would come as early morning reruns, there was no television then.
Right,
in the 60s, right? There was no television. So when they would come at the early morning reruns, 9 a.m. shows would be 9 o'clock in the morning, reduced rates, red rates. And they were really cheap, those tickets. And it was safe to travel, as a kid. I used to go and used to watch all the old classics that my mom and I used to sit and discuss in the night, late at night. Oh, don't forget. And don't forget to watch this movie if it ever comes out. Don't forget to watch that movie if it ever comes out. And those movies really opened up my mind, and I have great memories. Thanks to mom.
Funny tale about how you got the role in the play which was being directed by Alec Padamsee. So would you just take us through that funny story, how you got it?
So Shamak Davar was my first celebrity. He came to my studio and I was going through a rough patch at that time. Again, as a photographer, I had not paid my dues, So I was spending time paying my dues. Practicing, practice. That's the trick. And Shamak said, okay, I'm taking you out for lunch. I said, okay, let's go for lunch. And well, he didn't take me out for lunch. He took me to Alec Padamsee's house. I said, what are we doing here? He's saying, I want you to audition. He's saying, for what? He's saying, for a play. I said, I'm not interested right now. He's saying, why? I said, because just now I've just started paying my bills as a photographer. And I cannot risk derailing that process.
Right.
He says, you better do this. I said, why? He said, because you're an actor. I said, who told you? He said, nobody told me. I said, then how can you say that? He says, because I can see it. I know in my heart you've always wanted to be in the movies or on stage. You're a stage person. You talk like you're a stage person. You behave like you're a stage person, a theater person. Why are you living in denial? I knew he was telling the truth. And he said, don't lie. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to yourself. Very simple. And he took me for an audition. Alex said, okay, it's fine. And he gave me the role. You can edit it later on. He gave me the role. My first role was a 3-minute role, that of a pimp. Proud to have done that role. It got a lot of attention. Those 3 minutes. Sometimes, people should understand it's not the length of the role. It's how you go for it. And I went for that little 3-minute bit. And suddenly I started getting more and more offers in the theater. It's a small community.
Right.
And then one led to the other. And then suddenly I was doing 3 plays at the same time. I was saying, I belong here. Shamak was right. And I'll always be grateful to Shamak.
And what were the challenges of playing Gandhi?
The challenges of playing Gandhi are right in front of you. Physically, I don't look like Gandhi. I don't sound like
you
Gandhi.
lost a lot of weight. You had to lose a lot of weight, right?
You can't lose height, and you can't lose height, and you got to lose the voice.
Right.
And I lost almost 30 kilos in record time, and I just kept losing weight, and I was looking like a stick, and I couldn't recognize myself. But I needed to understand one very important thing is that losing weight and speaking like Gandhiji does not mean you become Gandhi. How did the man think and what did he believe in is what you have to believe in. I went to Sudhir Joshi, who was my partner in crime in a play called I'm Not Bajirao, a beautiful comedy, which we did for almost 10 years. And Sudhir Joshi told me, so why are you looking so... I said, I've come to you for advice. He says, what kind of advice? I said, I'm getting to play Gandhi. He says, yeah, you should do it. I said, yeah. So I was huge then, okay? I still am, but I was huger then. So he said, you should do it. I said, you sure? He said, yeah, do it. I said, okay. But which Gandhi? I said, Mahatma Gandhi. He said, really? I said, yeah. He said, no, I honestly thought Frontier Gandhi, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. So I said, no. And then he smiled at me and said, do it. I said, you sure? He says, yeah, absolutely. It's all about belief. You just have to believe. You may lose as much weight as you can and you can do whatever you want. But if you don't believe for that moment when you step on stage that you are the embodiment of the heart and soul of the great man himself, it can't be. You've got to just believe. You've got to psych yourself. You've got to hypnotize yourself. Just believe. If you don't believe, the audience will not believe. It's not possible. And that's exactly what I tried to do. And I did it for a few years, that role, traveling the world. It was quite awesome, the experience. Learned a lot. Humbling experience. Frightening experience. But you have to overcome fear in everything that you have to do in life. But Gandhi was... the play Mahatma versus Gandhi was a great experience of learning humility and overcoming fear. It's scary not just to play a man who was smaller in size, but to play the great man himself. He's a unique soul in the history of the world. How do you zero in onto him? And you can read as many books and you can understand as much history as you want to, but if you don't feel his radiance, then there is a problem. He has to radiate something. He has to radiate the truth. And it's a beautiful feeling. It's a beautiful feeling.
Ram Madhvani was on this show before and he talked about his debut film, Let's Talk. And which you also said that practically nobody watched the film. It did nothing to anybody but for Boman, who became a huge star. How did Let's Talk happen? And how did it eventually propel you to superstardom?
When he came to me and said, I'm making a film, I said, okay, time has come. The time has come for us to make some money, long last. But it was not that kind of movie. It was an experimental film, which was meant to be shot in 1 week on a handycam, right? And I said, okay, let's do this. So he gave me a big manuscript like that. I said, this is all the material we have. And again, I said, this much. I said, okay. So what do you want to do? He's saying, we have to start rewriting all of this. There's lots of stuff. We got to pull out some pages. We got to improvise and you'll be part of the writing team. So for a film that was never meant to be released. We spent a year and a half rehearsing and writing. The actress, Maya Katrak, and Sanjay Sipai Milani, that's Sippy. The four of us would sit in a room and we would improvise and write and rewrite and transcribe. And for a film that was never meant to be released. I don't know why we took so much trouble. Don't ask me. The least we could do was shoot it on 35 millimeter, but we didn't do that either. And this went on and on and on and on and on and on till one day we said, okay, let's shoot it. And we shot it in 7 days. Maya acted. She gave an amazing performance. And I did my thing, and we both felt very ill after it because it was emotionally very draining.
Okay.
We were very ill.
Yeah.
One day Maya broke down. One day I fainted. It was emotionally gruesome, to say the right word. And the film got made, and then it was in the edit room because it was on digital. Now, those days, there was no such thing as digital cinema. It was handycam. The film had to be edited down from God knows how many hours to 1 hour 40 odd minutes. Now, what happened was that there was a gentleman who saw a part of the edit and he was wondering what's going on. What's this film about? Very roughly shot, fly on the wall kind of camera thing. Today you see a lot of that on YouTube.
Yeah.
So he said, who's this guy? So he says, Boman Irani. He said, send him to me. And he gave me money. I said, what's for? He said, for my next film. I said, what's your film? He said, I don't have a film. I said, okay. I took the money. I didn't lodge the check, by the way.
How much was it?
2 lakhs. A huge amount of money for a movie that was not to be made.
Right.
I said, but then why you give me this money? He says, because I want you in my next film, and this is for the next film. It's considered as an advance. I said, boy. Well, the film that finally came out of it was a film called. Well, he called me very excitedly on the phone, and he said, "Hey, I got my next movie. I told you, you'll be in my next movie. I got a movie. I said, what's the name of the movie? He said, Munnabhai MBBS. I said, okay. It sounded terrible at the time. I said, Munnabhai MBBS. It didn't sound nice. At least I thought, what's the story? He said, a Gunda wants to be a doctor. Didn't sound nice to me. Saying, what's my role? He said, you are a doctor, dean of the college, and you'll be laughing throughout the film. You just laugh. I did not go down the gullet, Mitrajit. I didn't know. I said, is this going to be my big, Hindi film debut? And he says, go meet meet Raju. I said, who is Raju, man? Who is Raju? He's saying, you're not making the film. This is Vidhu Vinod Chopra, by the way. Saying, you're not making the film. He said, no. I said, see, my luck is not very good. Saying, Raju, some assistant. And I said, okay, go meet him. So Ram said, go meet him. He's a very nice man, very soft-spoken and very lovely fellow. I said, okay. I went and met him. And Raju turned out to be this wonderful human being. This lovely guy who told me a story that was so beautiful. So when it sounds ridiculous as a one-liner. A Gunda wants to be a doctor. All came out so beautifully when the story was narrated. It was beautiful. I said, I want to do this film. It took a long time to get on because we couldn't cast it properly. And then people kept dropping out. And Raju was a new director. Nobody wanted to work with a new director at that point. I'm not so sure. But we took a long time to. And then, Sanjay Dutt suddenly, they said, let's do it with Sanjay Dutt. But he's 44 years old. So, I said, 44-year-old playing a college boy. He said, we'll figure it out. Don't worry. So Raju said, you're 44 and you're playing a 65-year-old man. What's your problem? Yeah, let it be, plus or minus. Suspension of disbelief. And we shot the film and Sanju put in his best performance of his career. Arshad joined in very late in the game, almost just 10 days before principal's filming started. And Arshad turned out to be, my God, he just knocked it out of the ballpark. And then there was this old Parsi guy with a bald head was laughing away, and somehow people started liking him too. And a movie that was meant to be, a non-starter, nobody wanted to really distribute it, nobody wanted to even release it or finance it. Somehow we did it, And it didn't catch on day one, day two, and slowly before you could say Jack Robinson, the word of mouth, genuine. This is what is known as genuine word of mouth. And the film went into orbit, awards, and it was like magic. And how people just took to the movie. It was a very difficult film to make because we didn't have the wherewithal, we didn't have the money. We were in a very, very tight budget. And Vinod Chopra said, just make the film. I'm with you guys. And suddenly, before we knew it, this movie, everybody's starting quoting dialogues and screaming and whistling. And in the carom sequence with the old Parsi guy with the orange juice, people was whistling as if we had gone and won the World Cup. What did he do? He just knocked a queen into the pocket. I mean, the power of cinema is that if you've convinced people and you've got them by the heart, then they're going to cheer you for the small little things in life. That was so beautiful. Even till today, it's become like a catchphrase for affection. Jadoo ki jhappi. It just doesn't
Absolutely.
catch on because it's good dialogue. It catches on because the heart is in the right place. And I feel that is what made Munnabhai the film it is. The heart was in the right place. The message was so beautiful about humanity and kindness and love and appreciation and that even a guy who was a gunda has hope. He didn't become a doctor because that's not what it was all about. He just taught people how to be nicer to the other guy. The doctor thing is not necessary. He said, I am not a doctor. Don't come to me. But what they learned from the character and they learned from the film was a little bit of kindness goes a long way. A little bit of kindness goes a long way. I cannot tell you the wonderful responses we've had over the years. When people come and tell us how, once Raju and I were on a flight and when lady came in and said that you brought my family together. My father, before he died, took us all to see the movie and nobody was talking to each other. But he was looking at everyone's faces, laughing away. And that was his great victory. So the whole family was laughing and smiling and after the movie, they all went out for dinner and they said that your family reunited. And the father died 10 days later. So the effect of kindness is never to be underestimated. You can't push kindness, but if it's genuine, then it goes a long way. And then the small things in the film catch on. Otherwise, you can have big, huge CG scenes or big, huge bombastic dramas or huge laugh comedies may not touch you here. What this movie did because the intention was beautiful.
You refused the role of Virus in Three Idiots for apparent similarities with the character of Dr. Asthana. Thank God they
Right.
convinced you to do the role, and we had that hugely talented nutty professor with a trademark lisp, Viru Sahasrabuddhe Urf Virus. How did you work
Yeah.
on crafting the character?
It's all about learning and understanding a few things. When you look at it on paper, both are heads of institutions. They are both a little eccentric. One had a laughter. The other guy had all different kinds of craziness. Both were interested in academic excellence. They had their own little methods of getting to. Both had a daughter, and their biggest nemesis was the rogue hero.
Right.
And both were wanting to woo my daughter. And I just said, when you look at it, till I don't say it, nobody quite sees the similarity.
Correct.
But when I was read, I said, this is very similar. I said, yeah, probably is, but nobody's going to get it. I said, sure, they're going to get it. It's just a reprisal of the other role. And then slowly we started working. Raju took me, away from the city. He says, no, you come along with me and I promised me good food. So we took one biryani wala ustad with us, and that was the big trick actually. No, but I like to be convinced because these are responsibilities. Raju's career now had gone into orbit because he was making these wonderful films, and I didn't want to say, people say same dost ko leta hai aur wohi role deta hai, and even though the thing one must understand, and it took a lot of self. Is that there could be two people who have the same job description, but they should have two different worldviews. And if you don't have a worldview and the personality, if it doesn't is defined by the job or by how many children you have, then I think you have a problem. If you get stuck with the job description, so I could play 10 in policemen, but there are 10 different human beings with 10 different backgrounds and 10 different lives before the film. And what do they want? That has to change. And I said to myself, what does this guy want? What did that guy want? Like, for example, when I did Lagera Hu Munnabhai, I had a similar problem. My problem was, but both were Punjabi speaking. One was Sardaji, one was Punjabi. And both were in the construction business. And I said to myself, and both want property. And now we're having a real problem. Even though one was shot 3 years before, but the release kind of came in the same year, because one was Khosla, Ghosla was in the same year.
Right.
And I said, but their wants are very different. One wants his daughter to be happy and happily married, and he's willing to, bend the rules so that, his daughter is happy. And the other is a real rogue rascal who wants to grab property.
Land grabber,
and had no respectability which he was looking for. His respectability was absent, and that's the reason why his child did not want to sit with him at the same dinner table. And that's what he was yearning for. So what a character wants is very important. And that's what we teach. I teach at the screenwriting classes. If a character wants nothing, then there's nothing to look forward to. What is he in the film for? He should want something. And so the want of this character was very different. It was in complete opposition to what Rancho's character wanted. And Rancho wanted to be free thinking and creative science and creative. And this guy says, no, it's all about numbers. It's about job placements. So their worlds and their wants are different, and they collide because of that, not because of their profession and not because of the fact that they have daughters.
But did the character have the list while it was being written, or was it, it came along later?
It came along simply because, I'll tell you, there were two reasons. One was that it was something that he shoved in your face, and it was something that kind of bogged me down as a child, and I always thought of it as a weakness. And I used to shove the lisp in your face as if with arrogance. And I wanted to use my weakness as a strength. That was one of the reasons why I put it there. Otherwise, no, it wasn't written in like that. And the thing is, when and Raju liked the idea of the lisp. He's saying, I like the lisp. We had those old phones, and he recorded me with the lisp. He's saying, it's very nice. And then months before principal shooting, months, literally.
Yeah.
Raju, I've learned a lot from him in that respect. I recommended to him that we should rehearse the scenes, which aren't the light-hearted scenes, but the heavy-duty emotional scenes with the lisp. Will the lisp come in the way? Will people laugh and find it funny while a man is breaking down?
Right.
So that's what and I said, if we don't caricaturize it, even if it seems caricaturized, then we are fine. But initially you might find it amusing. That's fine. Amusing is fine. It should not be the central pillar that holds up the character.
Right.
That's not what it's there for. It's just a guy with a lisp. That's it. So we rehearse the big scenes, the towards the end, especially with the child and screaming.
Right.
We rehearsed when I was eating all that biryani. Just by the way, we were working very hard. It was amazing that when we got past that, Raju said, it doesn't bother me at all that you're lisping. A lot of people have. But after a while, it becomes that I accept you for who you are. I can't look at a person's quirk all the time. I'm paying attention to the person, and if you're not paying attention to the person and you're paying attention to the lisp, then we are in big trouble.
So Khurana was both buffoonish and menacing at the same time. He was, kind of the respect what he was looking for, but the approach he was having towards that was wrong, and that was reflecting in the character being buffoonish. At the same time, he was menacing. So did you enjoy playing Khurana? And he's one of the characters which is really, really close to my heart. And I would definitely at the end of it want you to say a line of Khurana if you remember a dialogue from the movie?
Oh, man. I really don't know whether I was going for buffoonery. And if it came across, then I have failed.
The outcome sometimes was quite funny because the way he would give this. Yeah,
Which is fine.
yeah,
But I think to go to from buffoonery to make menacing becomes difficult. But if
yeah,
you find it funny, I'm okay with that.
yeah,
I don't find myself funny. I don't
yeah,
think I was being funny. I
yeah.
think I was being menacing. And people are not laughing because they are finding it funny. They're laughing because they are nervous. There's a difference. I don't think his jokes were mean. There's a meanness to him. He's not.
Right.
He's not cracking. He's not trying to make you laugh. So the thing about Khurana was it was a very very again it's a fine line. You're walking on a path and you're saying I can keep him in a world of some kind of reality that these people a character like that exists. Which and I met a lot of characters like
Right.
Khurana. If I go too much lampoon side, then we lose the menace.
Right.
And if I only play for the menace, he's just not delicious to watch. So
Correct.
one has to walk very cleverly and literally measure the fine line to walk between what is menacing and colorful. And that's what I went for. And I'd like to acknowledge the contribution of the director, who was a Delhi boy, Dibakar Banerjee, Bengali boy, but very proper Delhi wala. Maybe you too are from Delhi, I'm not mistaken.
No, I'm not
Uh,
from Delhi, but the Bengali from Delhi is a different breed altogether, and they're quite interesting.
Yeah, and Mr. Kher, Mr. Anupam Kher, who was very very supportive of this character because he realized that this character is the one guy. If he didn't work out well, all the hard work they're doing on the other side, as the Khoslas, will come
Right.
crashing down because they don't have a challenge. So he was very very protective of this character, and he was very proud of the way that I handled it. And he was very, very nurturing. He was a little worried that we've cast a Parsi to play Dilliwala. There were a lot of Dilliwala actors who were very upset with me. They told
Right.
me,
Yeah.
that, how would you feel if I come from Delhi and play a Parsi character? You'd feel bad. But I said, okay, I'm sorry about that. I apologize, guilty as charged and all of that. But will you mind helping me then?
Hmm.
So I didn't take any offense to it. I just took it as so you know all about the Dilli wala. Teach me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hame kya? I am here to sponge off you. And they were so supportive after a while when they realized that. And Kher Saab, Mr. Anupam Kher, he was so protective. So when we did the first rehearsal, he just looked at me and he did this. And he smiled at me. First rehearsal. And he smiled. And I said, what happened? He's saying, just don't touch it. Don't overdo it. Don't do better. Don't do better than good. It's good.
Okay.
Don't try and improve it in front of the camera. So itna
Yeah.
karega na, you'll be
No.
absolutely fine. And he was so excited. And he used to chuckle in the take. He used to
Yeah.
feel such excitement. And I truly appreciate a senior actor's support. It's very important. I, as a newcomer, it's my third film, shooting chronology wise.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am
Yeah.
intimidated by the presence of such a senior actor. And I am supposed to be intimidating him. I am supposed to be towering over him. And he would literally coil. I don't know whose idea it was, but he made me stand on a stool. It was the first time when I shook hands, and he looked up at me and it takes a good actor to enhance the other guy's performance. So the smaller he got, the bigger I looked, not just by putting me on a stool, but by coiling in fear. And I thought his performance enhanced my performance, and I hope it works both ways.
Yeah.
But he was extremely supportive and excited because when he sat with me in the first screening. And he started chuckling. I said, what are you chuckling for? He's saying, your entry, just watch. And he held my hand and he tapped my hand like this and he did like this. And I said, wow, it takes a true artist to understand, what it means to the film. He says, you did great, he told me. I never thought not because you're not a good actor, but never thought that a Parsi would be able to do this. And that goes a long way. Confidence is very important.
So just a
So
line, Boman.
I wouldn't remember. Well, it's almost 18 years ago,
Yes, yes.
and I haven't seen it in a long time. Uncle ji, I don't know if I got that right. Uncle ji, अच्छा वो property आपकी है, आपका है तो ले लो.
Fantastic.
आपका है तो ले लो. It doesn't ring as well because you got to be in the moment at that point,
Yeah.
It's very.
Moving on, the fifth and the last film I want you to comment on is the political satire Well Done Abba. It is a
Right.
delightful movie. Talk about the
Right.
experience of being a part of Well Done Abba.
Now, you know what? I don't know. Something with my screenwriting sessions, Spiral Bound, I think I spoke about it. There is something that happens that is so serendipitous. Well, you bring up Well Done Abba, everybody brings up Khosla and virus and what have you. Houseful. Tomorrow morning in class, my guest speaker is Sham Benegal. Can you explain that to me? How did that happen? You brought up Well Done Abba. And it's a forgotten, in that sense, not a, it won the national award and all of that. But it's not on everybody's lips. And I invited Sham Babu yesterday. I call him Sham Garu because we shot in Andhra Pradesh and everybody's Garu over there. Sham Garu. So he says, I want you to come and meet my students. He says, yeah, done. I'll be there. How does this happen? You're asking me this question today. And tomorrow morning, Sham Benegal is going to come to my class and talk to my students. Wow. It's an amazing little coincidence. But my experience with Well Done Abba is of great learning. Apart from the fact that it was a lovely film and it had some beautiful moments, but just having one meal with Sham Garu is an education. It's like a semester. I didn't have one meal. I stayed there for a month and some. And then when we went for the festival circuit, even if I was not invited, I would buy my own ticket and I would go. Just to be with him. And tomorrow I invited him just so that people will experience the genius of Sham Benegal. He's a national treasure. I think he's made some 37 odd films, 18 which have won national awards. I mean, people make a film and a half and they think they've arrived. Look at this guy. He's still in his 80s and he's still making a film in Bengali, no less. Mitrajit, you should be very happy. He's making a film in Bengali. In his 80s. What are you talking about, late bloomer? This guy's blooming away. So Well Done Abba was one of those experiences that really made me the most money, made me the richest in that sense. My students asked me this question a few days ago and said, which was the most emotional experience? Saying, I have felt emotional on many sets, but I never cried all the way from location to the airport. All the way. I was sobbing away. And Ila Arun was with me saying, Boman, kitna ro raha hai? Kitna ro raha hai? Aapne bahut kaam kiya Sham Babu ke saath. Lekin, I don't know when I'll work with him again. And I was wiping my tears. I said, I'm a rich man. And she got emotional, And I was telling my students 3 days ago. And someone said, why don't you get Sham Benegal into class? I said, done. I called him yesterday and he's coming tomorrow. Fantastic. Everybody. Every young student, every young actor, director, whoever it is, human, should spend some time with Sham Benegal.
You are neither born famous nor got fame in your 20s. Then you got insanely famous in your 40s. How do you process fame and how do you channelize fame for personal and larger good?
I don't know. Fame is something that is not what the want was. The idea was to work in movies. It was not fame that I was seeking. So the fame was a byproduct of what I was wanted. It's like a good feeling after a good meal. But I went to the restaurant to eat, not to be overfull. I don't know how to say it. I don't know whether that makes any sense to you at all. But fame is not what what I came into the business for. I didn't get on stage to be famous. For 14 years, I did theater. I wasn't famous. And I think that there should be a very clear distinction between fame and success. Fame is Fame is fame. Success is what you want and feel. The satisfaction of feeling that what I've done and what I set out to do, I kind of achieved it. You'll never do it 100%. Fame is just a byproduct. How do you process fame? The one great thing I take away from fame is love. I think there is no price to be put on that. So though I don't yearn for fame, I'd rather feel satisfied with the work I've done than be famous. But the one thing that I would not give away is the love.
The toughest role till date, most satisfying role till date, and any regret.
The toughest role and the most satisfying role were both one, which is Khosla or Ghosla, because then it's good. You can't cherry pick your whole life. Yeah, you take the good with the bad, and I don't even consider the mistakes. If I learn something on the set, that's fine. I have no control over box office. I have no control over fame. I have no control over how it's going to be marketed. I'll do my best. So even good movies sometimes don't do well, and sometimes not so good movies do pretty well. So I don't know how to judge all of that. So I can't cherry pick and say my career will be, it's meant to be imperfect. Your career is meant to be imperfect when you turn and say, okay, I think I was not so convincing, so the blame is mine. Take the blame. Always, never play the victim. Stand up and take the blame. You can't say, they didn't market it well, and it came out at the wrong time. It got sandwiched between this big movie and that big movie. The release date was wrong. Yeah, no, take the blame and move on. Rishi Kapoor, he said it the best in all his wonderful way. He said it the best. Hits, never let it go to your head. The flops, never let it go to your heart. Just carry on regardless.
Thank you, Boman, for talking to me on Teachers Glasses Presents Bollywood TALKies with Outlook. I can't let you go without singing a few lines for us.
I knew you would be asking me this question, and that's why I don't know how to do that. What is it? How does one pay? 520. I'll take $10, not more. सारी उम्र हम मर मर के जी लिए एक पल तो अब हमें जीने दो सारी उम्र हम मर मर के जी लिए एक पल तो अब हमें जीने दो la 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 la. Whoa, give me some sunshine, give me some rain, give me another chance. I wanna grow up once again. बचपन तो गया, जवानी भी गई, एक पल तो अब हमें जीने दो. Na 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 na. No, give me some sunshine, give me some rain, give me another chance. I wanna grow up once again. Give me some sunshine, give me some rain, give me another chance. I wanna grow up once again. I'd like to thank you, Mitrajit, for having me on the show. Man who doesn't want to watch a Let's Talk, and he's gone to Houseful for one reason and one reason alone, is that he works very hard. And his wife and he and she works very hard. They need a good laugh in the low tone and language that they understand. So it's very important to me that they enjoy themselves. So the same words as doing Gandhi, if I don't enjoy it, they won't enjoy it. I have to enjoy it. I can't say it's commercial, chalo, theek hai, let's do it. I love doing all this stuff because I'll tell you the big secret here. The big secret is I grew up watching movies like that. I cannot knock a movie that was my diet as a kid, which included all kinds of movies. I watched French films, and I watched Bollywood, and I watched Hollywood, and I watched Manmohan Desai and Prakash Mehra and the broad comedy. And hey, suddenly, just because you do some kind of serious cinema doesn't make you you're an entertainer on that day. Be the entertainer. Don't be shy of it. Go for it. What did Mr. Sudhir Joshi teach me? If you don't believe, they don't believe. And if I'm not going to believe that I am that character, then the whole movie comes crashing down. Because there's one weak link over there who's saying, yeah, it's commercial money, good locations. It's going to do well in any case, man. There's Akshay Kumar and there's Abhishek Bachchan and there's Ritesh who's, so funny. No, you have to stick with that moment. I enjoy those movies very much.